If you can't think fast and act resolutely, it does you no good. So you're like a man standing by a stream trying to spear a fish, and the fish just comes by once a week or once a month or once every 10 years. And you've got to be there to throw that spear fast before the fish swims on. It's a pretty demanding business if you do it right.
How do you take advantage of market dislocations?
Well, when there are market dislocations, there are always ways to take advantage of it, but we'll leave for you the joy of searching for those. But there have been some really important dislocations, and I brought along, just for your amusement, a few figures on something that we've done recently, but it doesn't have any big significance for Berkshire. I mean, Berkshire will make some extra money out of this. It doesn't take any time to think about, but it does illustrate just how dramatic the changes were. And the ones I brought along relate to the tax-exempt money market funds. There were 330 billion of these. That's a lot of money, 330 billion. And they relied on repricing of really almost all cases first-grade municipal bonds every 7 days. They had these auctions, and it was all set up very elaborately so that people could have their money more or less in their minds instantly available in something that was tax exempt. And they were marketed extensively. And I brought along, for example, here's one that related to they were backed by various municipal issues. This happens to be one by the LA County Museum of Art. Just pull that out. And on January 24th, it was marketed at 3.15%. January 31st, 4.0. February 7th, 3.5. February 14th, 8%. Now, how can a tax-exempt bond of short-term nature be selling at a 3.5% rate 1 week, and 1 week later on Valentine's Day be at 8%, and 1 week after that be at 10%? It's now back to 4.2%. Now, those are huge dislocations in markets. That's crazy. It'd be one thing to be some little obscure item, but this happened with billions and billions and billions of dollars of securities. It even happened, we get these bid sheets every day, and this happens to be a bid sheet, I think from Citigroup, and they were repricing these every 7 days. And what you would find on these, you'll see there's lots of issues involved. The same issue would appear on several different pages because it would represent some different auction, although handled by the same broker at the same time. On one page, you would find an issue. We would bid all these. We happen to bid these at 11.3%. On one page, we bought them at 11.3%. On another page, the same issue, we bid the 11.3%, and somebody else bid 6%. So you had the same issue with the same broker at the same time being sold at 11.3% and 6%. Those are markets of extreme dislocation, and you find those occasionally. You found that after the long-term capital management crisis in 1998. You found the equivalent of it in the stock market in 1974 and so on. And those are great times to make unusual amounts of money. And there's certain things we can't figure out. I see in the Wall Street Journal, I see advertisements these days of auctions taking place in some esoteric mortgage securities. If you had enough time, you could probably figure out some of those that were very mispriced. We don't fool around with that. We just don't have the time. We were able to do we have about $4 billion in this right now. When we get all through, we'll have made some extra money for a couple of months. It won't be significant in relation to Berkshire's size, but it's something that's very easy to do. You may be able to find, by working very, very hard on some smaller issues, you might be able to find in this mess in mortgages, and it's gone beyond subprime. It's gone into all days, and it's gone into option arms and that sort of thing. There very well could be some great opportunities out there that Charlie and I will no longer spot because we just can't be looking at that many things. Charlie?
Yeah, what is interesting is that how brief these opportunities to take advantage of dislocations frequently are. Some idiot hedge fund bought unlimited municipal bonds at incredible margins. I think they bought 20 times more municipal bonds than they could afford with their own money, borrowing all the rest. And when those things were dumped on margin calls, municipal bonds suddenly got mispriced in America. But the dislocation was very brief.
But very extreme.
But very extreme. And so if you can't think fast and act resolutely, it does you no good. So you're like a man standing by a stream trying to spear a fish, and the fish just comes by once a week or once a month or once every 10 years. And you've got to be there to throw that spear fast before the fish swims on. It's a pretty demanding business if you do it right.
But there have been times, I mean, in the junk bond market, there was a 3 or 4 month period in 2002 where some really incredible things happened, and they happened on a large scale. So,
yeah, it happens about twice a century.
Yeah. Which means that he and I have only had 4 or 5 times when we could do it. Let's go to number 4.
Hello, Mr. Buffett and Mr. Munger. My name is Srinivas Kanediwal. I am from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I read all your letters and annual reports multiple times, and every time I get a different insight. So thanks for doing it. My question is about converting the successful small businesses into large enterprise. I have a good and successful small business. For the last few years, I'm unable to grow it to the next level. It seems like there are some components I'm missing, so wanted to take your advice on it.
Well, Berkshire was a small business at one time. I mean, it just takes time. I mean, it's the nature of compound interest, and you can't build it in one day or 1 week. So, Charlie and I have, we've never tried to do in some master stroke convert Berkshire into something 4 times as large. People have done that sometimes in business, but we've sort of felt that if we kept doing what we understood and did it consistently and had fun while we were doing it, that it would be something quite large at some point. But there's nothing magic. It'd be nice to attract a whole bunch of money into some great idea you have and multiply it manyfold in a few weeks or something of the sort. But that has really not been our approach. We have done, in a general way, we've done the same thing. Now we do little variations of it, but we've kept doing the same thing for years, and we'll keep doing it. We will have more businesses a few years from now than we have now, and we'll have all the ones we have presently. Most of them will do better, some won't, and we will have added something, and that's an automatic formula for getting ahead. But it's not an automatic formula for galloping ahead. But we don't really feel, we're not unhappy because we're not galloping. We're unhappy if we're not moving at all. But, we've got 76 or so, in most cases, pretty darn wonderful businesses. And like I say, we'll have more as we go along. So it's a very simple formula. Gypsy Rose Lee said once, she said, I have everything I had 5 years ago. It's all that it's 2 inches lower. Well, what we want to have 5 years from now, a whole bunch of businesses we had before that are 2 inches higher, plus some more businesses, and that's the formula. Charlie?
Well, yeah, you got to remember that it's the nature of things that most small businesses will never be big businesses. It's also in the nature of things that most big businesses eventually fall into mediocrity or worse. So it's a tough game out there. In addition, the players of the game all have to die, and those are just the rules of the game, and you have to get used to it. We've only created from scratch one small business that became a huge business that I can think of, and that's the reinsurance department. And there, Warren and Ajit and others have created a great and valuable business out of air. But can you think of anything other that's large that we've done in all these decades?
No.
We've only done it once, so we're a one-trick pony.
Yeah, we were lucky on that one, too. Yeah, and incidentally, without a G, we wouldn't have done it at all. So.
Right.
It isn't that we did it. A G did it. We just sat there cheering.
Somebody asked us once what was the best investment we ever made, and I answered the fee we paid to the executive recruiter to find Ajit Jain.